It was the evening of May 18th, 2025. Inside the opulent grand ballroom of the Waldorf Astoria in New York City. Crystal chandeliers cast warm golden light across 200 elegantly dressed guests, the air heavy with the scent of fresh orchids and aged champagne. Laughter rippled through the crowd as my sister Lauren and her husband Victor accepted yet another round of toasts for their 5th wedding anniversary. But beneath the surface glamour, tension coiled inside me like a spring ready to snap. I had chosen a sleek black gown that accentuated my figure without trying too hard. Diamond studs catching the light. My makeup subtle yet polished. No one suspected that in minutes I would step into the spotlight and flip their entire world upside down. To understand why I stood there that night. Heart steady, but mind racing. We need to trace the path that led me here. Through years of quiet erosion that wore away at my sense of self until only resolve remained. My name is Amelia Hayes. I am 34 years old, and for most of my life I lived in the shadow of my older sister Lauren in our suburban Philadelphia home. Lauren, at 37, had transformed herself into a lifestyle influencer with over 550,000 followers. Her days revolved around perfectly lit photo shoots, sponsored getaways to coastal resorts, and brand partnerships that paid handsomely for promoting skincare serums and designer handbags. Our parents, Diane, 63, a well-connected social figure in Philadelphia circles, and Edward, 65, a semi-retired accountant who never stopped calculating everyone else's worth, treated Lauren as their masterpiece. Victor, her husband and a 39-year-old investment advisor at a prominent hedge fund, completed the picture with his sharp suits and sharper tongue. I, on the other hand, had worked my way up to senior marketing director at a fintech company in Philadelphia. My achievements, a successful campaign launch that brought in 7-figure revenue, a team of 12 reporting to me, were acknowledged with brief smiles at family gatherings before the conversation inevitably swung back to Lauren's latest follower milestone or her upcoming feature in a luxury magazine. The pattern repeated like clockwork. At holiday dinners in our parents' spacious dining room, I would share news of a promotion only to hear Diane sigh softly. "That's lovely, Amelia dear. But Lauren just closed a 6-figure deal with that new activewear line. She really has that star quality, doesn't she?" Edward would nod, adding with a chuckle, "Some people build empires with spreadsheets, others with charisma. Different paths, I suppose." The financial exploitation crept in gradually, disguised as family support. It started with small requests. "Amelia, could you spot me $12,000 for the new ring light setup and content studio renovation?" Lauren texted one afternoon in 2021. "It's an investment in my brand. I'll pay you back next quarter when the sponsorships roll in." I transferred the money, telling myself it was temporary. Then came Victor's sure-thing investment opportunity that needed $15,000 to get in early. Promises of repayment arrived in enthusiastic texts that grew quieter over months. By the time Lauren's 30th birthday blowout in Miami required another $10,000 contribution to keep up appearances, the total had climbed past $40,000 in unreturned loans. Each request came wrapped in flattery or guilt. "You're so responsible, sis. You don't have kids or a big lifestyle to maintain like we do." The emotional manipulation cut deeper. Casual comments at Sunday brunches became routine weapons. "Lauren just has that natural glow. Amelia, you might want to try that new serum she's promoting," Diane would say while passing the salad. Victor loved the backhanded jab. "Marketing is great for staying busy, but real money moves in boardrooms, not PowerPoint decks." Lauren would laugh lightly. "Don't take it personally. Ames. Not everyone is meant for the spotlight." I learned to smile through it, pushing down the sting, convincing myself that family meant enduring these moments. Yet inside, resentment simmered. I wondered why my efforts were invisible while Lauren's curated perfection earned endless praise. Public humiliation stung the most. During Christmas 2023 at the family lake house, I had just received recognition for leading a major product launch. When I mentioned it casually, Lauren launched into a 20-minute story about her latest European brand trip, complete with photos on her phone. Diane clasped her hands, beaming. Our Lauren is going places. Edward glanced my way briefly. Good work on the small stuff, Amelia, before turning back to his wine. I sat there, fork idle on my plate, feeling smaller with every passing second. The final fracture came in February 2025 at our extended family reunion held at the prestigious Philadelphia Country Club. 60 relatives filled the ballroom, everyone dressed in their finest. After the main course, Edward rose with a glass in hand, smiling broadly at Lauren and Victor. We have wonderful news to share. Grandma's trust fund, left specifically for her granddaughters, is being redirected entirely to Lauren and Victor as they prepare to welcome their first child next year. $35,000 will help them build the perfect nursery and support Lauren's career while she becomes a mother. It's the best way to honor the family legacy. The room murmured approval. My name had been silently erased from the documents. When I confronted Diane later by the coat check, she patted my arm dismissively. You're not at that stage yet, Amelia. Lauren needs it more. Be realistic about your place in all this. That night, sitting alone in my car in the pouring rain, water streaking the windshield and blurring the club lights, something inside me finally broke. The years of being the family safety net, the emotional punching bag, the invisible supporter, crystallized into cold clarity. I would no longer hide. I would no longer endure. I decided right there to gather every shred of evidence and prepare for the moment when truth would finally speak louder than their narratives. The decision made in that rain-soaked car set everything in motion. What my family never suspected, what I had guarded fiercely for years, was that my professional life extended far beyond the marketing role they mocked. In my late 20s, during late nights after long days at the office, I had poured my energy into founding Nexus Dynamics, a sophisticated AI-driven customer analytics platform tailored for retail and service businesses. What began as a side project in my small Philadelphia apartment grew steadily through word-of-mouth referrals and strategic partnerships. By 34, Nexus Dynamics was quietly valued at over $4 million, with me retaining controlling ownership. Revenue from enterprise subscriptions and licensing deals flowed reliably, funding diversified investments I never mentioned at family dinners. I also held a silent majority stake in Pinnacle Financial Consulting, a boutique firm specializing in digital transformation for hedge funds and wealth managers. Ironically, Pinnacle had consulted on multiple projects for Victor's firm, generating reports and strategies that boosted their performance metrics. Victor had bragged about those brilliant external consultants at one gathering, never realizing the ultimate decision-maker was the sister he belittled. Additionally, I owned 60% of the Riverside Grill chain, 3 upscale restaurants along the Schuylkill River that had become favorites among Philadelphia's elite. Diane herself had raved about their seasonal tasting menus just weeks earlier, completely unaware that her overlooked daughter approved every major operational decision and reviewed quarterly profits. I maintained the secrecy for self-preservation. Revealing any of it would have transformed me from the family disappointment into the unlimited ATM, inviting endless new demands disguised as supporting Lauren's growth or family opportunities. Instead, the royalties from my proprietary analytics algorithms, generating about $170,000 annually, went straight into secure accounts and growth investments. Late nights spent coding prototypes, pitching to early clients over coffee in quiet cafes, navigating venture meetings while keeping my day job, these formed the backbone of my hidden success. The emotional cost was high. Each family slight reinforced my isolation, but also fueled my drive to prove them wrong on my own terms. After the trust fund betrayal, I moved methodically. I compiled a meticulous dossier, screenshots of mocking group chats where my career was ridiculed, bank records showing the cumulative unpaid loans now exceeding $55,000. The altered trust documents with Diane's initials next to the edit removing my name. A cousin who worked as a paralegal quietly provided copies confirming Grandma's original intent for equal division. I scheduled a confidential consultation with one of Philadelphia's top litigation firms, Harrison and Ellis. The senior partner reviewed my materials carefully. This constitutes clear breach of fiduciary duty regarding the trust, plus enforceable verbal agreements supported by your text evidence, she explained. We can pursue fraud, emotional distress, and recovery of funds. The question is timing and strategy. I chose timing carefully. Lauren had insisted I attend their 5th anniversary celebration in New York, framing it as family unity. It was the perfect stage, high profile, attended by influencers, business associates, and socialites eager for content. Over 2 months, I prepared relentlessly. Additional assets were secured in protected accounts. Forensic accountants documented every extracted dollar. Cease and desist templates were drafted. I transferred key evidence to a private cloud and hired a discreet event technician to handle the projection setup. My boss at the fintech firm, aware of some family tensions from intercepted calls, offered quiet encouragement and even connected me with media relations support if needed. The night before flying to New York, I stood on my Philadelphia balcony, overlooking the city lights, breathing in the cool spring air. Calmness settled over me, surprising in its depth. Years of being dismissed had forged this resolve. I was no longer the runner-up. I was the architect of my own empire. Boarding the plane the next morning, I reviewed my notes one final time. The presentation slides were ready. Damning texts, financial trails, trust alterations, and finally the proof of my ownerships with logos, valuation summaries, and partnership agreements. This would not be revenge for revenge's sake, but a demand for recognition and accountability after decades of erasure. Arriving in New York, I checked into a quiet boutique hotel near the venue to center myself. I spent the afternoon reviewing every detail, practicing my words in the mirror, allowing the slow burn of emotion to build without panic. By evening, dressed and composed, I entered the Waldorf ballroom ready for the shift that would redefine my relationships forever. The stage was set. The lights dimmed slightly as dinner service wound down, and I signaled the technician. The moment approached, tension thick in the air, my voice ready to cut through the facade once and for all. The ballroom buzzed with conversation as guests finished their desserts. Lauren and Victor held court near the head table, posing for selfies with influencer friends who promised to tag the event heavily. Diane and Edward mingled nearby, accepting compliments on their perfect daughter and son-in-law. I moved through the crowd unnoticed at first, exchanging brief pleasantries with distant relatives while my pulse quickened. The hired technician had positioned the projector perfectly. A large screen waited above the small stage where Lauren planned to give her speech. At exactly 8:45, as the lights softened and murmurs of anticipation rose, I walked steadily forward. I took the microphone, the spotlight finding me. Good evening, everyone. For those who may not recognize me, I'm Amelia Hayes, Lauren's younger sister. Tonight, as we celebrate Lauren and Victor's 5th anniversary, I wanted to share some important family history that has remained hidden far too long. Confusion rippled through the room. Diane's face shifted from polite interest to irritation. Lauren whispered something sharply to Victor, who frowned. Behind me, the screen illuminated with the first slide, screenshots from our family group chat dated back 2 years. Messages popped up one by one, Lauren bragging about a major collab, Diane praising her talent, Edward joking that some people handle the real business while others play with ads, and a direct jab at my cute little marketing job. I let the words linger, voice calm but carrying clearly. My family has always had a distinctive way of expressing support. The next slides transitioned to bank transfer records, $8,000 for content equipment, $15,000 for the wedding enhancements, $10,000 for Victor's opportunity, $12,000 for home upgrades, all labeled as loans with repayment promises in follow-up texts that never materialized. Gasps echoed as dates and amounts appeared. Over 5 years. These added up. Always framed as temporary help while I was told I didn't understand real success. I turned to face my parents directly. Then there was Grandma's trust. The screen showed the original documents alongside the edited version. My name crossed out with Diane's initials. She intended for both granddaughters to benefit equally upon reaching certain milestones. Yet it was decided this $35,000 would go entirely to Lauren for her growing family. Because apparently I was not responsible enough. Lauren stood abruptly, moving toward the stage with Victor close behind. Amelia, what are you doing? This is inappropriate, she hissed, her voice carrying through the microphone. Victor reached for the projector cord, but the technician had secured it. I smiled faintly, steadying myself. Actually, for the first time, I feel completely appropriate. The final series of slides appeared, Nexus Dynamics valuation reports and ownership proof showing my majority stake and $4 million net worth, Pinnacle Financial Consulting partnership documents with client lists including Victor's firm, Riverside Grill ownership papers, and recent profit statements. A collective inhale filled the ballroom. Victor's face paled as he recognized the consulting firm logo from his own deals. You mocked my career, I continued, addressing them directly. Yet I own the analytics platform revolutionizing businesses like yours. The consulting firm you hired? I control it. The restaurant's mother loves? I own the majority share. Chaos erupted. Lauren's mascara began to run as she realized phones were recording. This is fake. She's jealous and making it up, she cried. But her influencer friends kept filming. Edward tried to approach the stage. Let's handle this privately. Amelia. Family business stays private. Diane stood frozen, hand over her mouth. From a side table, my aunt, who had always quietly supported me, called out, Good for you, Amelia. It's about time. The room descended into murmurs and shocked whispers as I stepped down, the weight of years lifting with each stride toward the exit. As I descended the stage, the ballroom erupted into full disorder. Phones flashed everywhere, capturing Lauren's tear-streaked face and Victor's frantic attempts to check his own phone notifications. Several guests from Victor's professional circle stared openly, whispering about the consulting firm revelation. Diane clutched Edward's arm, her expression crumbling from polished socialite to stunned disbelief. This can't be happening, she murmured repeatedly. Lauren pushed through the crowd toward me, voice rising in panic. Turn it off, everyone. This is all manipulated. Amelia has always been jealous of my success, but the evidence was irrefutable, and the recordings were already spreading. I kept walking, head high, as Victor muttered to Lauren, We need to get ahead of this narrative. Their attempts at damage control only highlighted the desperation. My cousin, the paralegal who had helped with documents, caught my eye and gave a subtle thumbs up from her table. The aunt who had spoken up earlier approached briefly, squeezing my shoulder. Proud of you for finally speaking. They needed to hear it. Outside the ballroom, the client for my day job who had attended as a guest caught up with me in the hallway. That was masterful. Amelia. Dignified yet devastating. They never saw you coming. I nodded, a small smile breaking through the adrenaline. Sometimes the truth is the only weapon needed after years of silence. By the time I reached my hotel, notifications were already flooding in, the scandal trending locally on social platforms. Lauren's follower count beginning to dip as clips circulated. The formal actions followed swiftly. The next morning, Harrison and Ellis filed the lawsuit seeking $900,000 in damages for breach of fiduciary duty, fraud related to the trust, recovery of all loans with interest, and compensation for emotional distress. Cease and desist letters were delivered to all parties prohibiting further public disparagement of my character or businesses. Banks initiated holds on accounts tied to the disputed funds pending investigation. Lauren's brand partnerships began to waver as sponsors reviewed the unfolding story. Victor faced internal questions at his firm about the undisclosed connections. The family implosion accelerated. Within days, Diane and Edward's social circle distanced itself. Invitations dried up. Old friends suddenly unavailable. By the end of the first week, Edward filed for divorce, citing Diane's financial mismanagement and role in alienating their daughters. Diane countered with claims of Edward's long-standing emotional favoritism and pressure on family decisions. Both avoided full accountability. But the rift became permanent. Lauren and Victor separated shortly after. Victor blaming Lauren for dragging him into family drama while she accused him of poor judgment in investments. Her follower count dropped over 180,000 as the public turned against the perceived entitlement. Through it all, I remained in New York briefly to handle legal meetings before returning to Philadelphia to wrap professional loose ends. The sense of liberation grew daily, though echoes of old pain lingered. The courtroom hearings confirmed every claim, full repayment ordered, trust restored with interest, additional damages awarded. I directed the entire settlement to charities supporting victims of familial emotional abuse and financial exploitation, ensuring the money created positive impact rather than further division. By July 2025, I had relocated to Austin, Texas, where Nexus Dynamics opened its new headquarters in a vibrant tech corridor. The move represented more than geography. It was a deliberate step into a future defined by my own vision. The company expanded rapidly with new AI modules that drew interest from major venture partners and enterprise clients across the Southwest. In this fresh environment, I cultivated genuine connections with colleagues and friends who valued my contributions without hidden agendas or comparisons. One evening in late summer at a local tech conference along the Colorado River Trail, I met Ethan, a software engineer building educational platforms for underserved communities. Our conversation flowed naturally from shared ambitions to deeper reflections on defining success beyond external validation. "You walked away from toxicity without burning everything down," he observed one night as we watched the city lights. "That takes real strength." I explained that complete destruction would not erase the past. Instead, forcing them to truly see me after years of dismissal had been the true victory. The lawsuit ensured accountability. But the deeper win was reclaiming my narrative. Some nights, memories of the ballroom still surfaced, the shock on their faces, the shift from condescension to realization. That moment of clarity for them, however painful, mirrored the one I had claimed for myself long before. People occasionally ask if I regret losing my biological family. The answer remains nuanced. I miss the ideal of unconditional support I once chased, but not the reality of constant diminishment. The distinction became my freedom. Last reports indicate Lauren's audience continues shrinking. Her content efforts met with skepticism. Victor relocated for a lower-profile role. Diane and Edward live separately. Their social standing diminished. Their version of events circulates among shrinking circles. But fewer listen. Meanwhile, I continue building, chapter by chapter, surrounded by those who see me fully. The whispered question that once echoed in a Philadelphia office, "You own their parent company?" ultimately catalyzed my refusal to remain unseen. True power lies not in making others suffer, but in refusing to suffer invisibly any longer. I am Amelia Hayes, tech entrepreneur in Austin. After a lifetime of being told I was insufficient, I discovered I had always been more than enough. And now, finally, that truth stands undeniable.